they have this facade that they're really interested in the subject matter and that there's like, you know, this deeper knowledge that they're seeking, and then you start talking with them, and people can't help themselves, dude. They just start fucking jumping in, sidetracking shit, calling you out on meta, losing the conversation. Like, it's just fucking grueling, dude.
And yet we keep coming back day after day after day to get more of it.
Yeah, I'm seeking some kind of fulfillment or retribution or something. I feel like I do have like decent results, at least whatever my standard is that's unspoken that I'm meeting within my own fucking subconscious, when someone's honest and will go down a pathway with me and not lose track, and then seem as if they're at least considering what's been covered.
Oh, that's not Clubhouse though, right? Like so many people in Clubhouse will just not even listen to what us three are saying. They'll completely ignore what we just said and just wait to talk. And, you know, like, I was watching a thing on TikTok and these two psychiatrists were talking. One of them says, you know, a sign of like a lot of childhood trauma in adults is adults, it's people that try to make difficult people like them. And I feel like we're trying to save people from their own bad choices, but like they're never going to listen to us.
Yeah, I got into this vein of just being able, after about 5 to 10 minutes of talking back and forth with one gentleman about inerrancy and scripture and human fallibility or not, right? And what that looks like. And then I got this other guy to start going in with me, and I said, so do you think that God ever gives any bad laws? And they were just baffled by the question, dude. Like, well, what do you mean by bad? Well, that, you know, just that shouldn't be done, something that ought not be done. You know, all things considered, you know, just keep it simple. And then they were like, well, give me an example. Well, I'm just asking you. I mean, like, so far it sounds like no, you don't think God gives any bad laws, because if you did, you would just say yes, right? He's like, well, I need to, and then they act so fucking stupid, dude. Like,
well,
they don't know.
Because they are.
What? Crazy. It's fucking crazy, dude. Like, the levels of this shit are just so freaking elementary.
It reminds me of the time that I got into an argument with a kid with Down syndrome about pigs swimming. This dude would just not believe me that pigs swim. Right? And like a lot of the times when I'm on Clubhouse, it feels like that. Like I'm arguing with a kid with Down syndrome about whether or not pigs swim.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like a lack of general knowledge of the world, other species on the planet, you know, general logic and critical thinking. I mean, that's a lot of this.
But wait a minute, pigs have hooves. How can they swim?
How could they swim? But they do. And there's like lovely video footage of like a pig just swimming up on an island and being like, sup, dude? I mean, obviously it didn't talk. It's not an anthropomorphic pig, but you get the gist. But the way this kid would just not believe it, and I even showed him a video, and he just would not. He's like, no, that's not real. Right? Like, that's how some of these Christians are, where you're like, yeah, like, vaccinations are real, and, like, that's a good sign that God's not real, because, like, why would we need to vaccinate each other in a perfect world created by a perfect God?
And that's funny, because a lot of the times I hear, like, even if this thing, you know, pops out in front of your face and shows you that it's real, you still wouldn't believe it. And the example you just gave, like, shows how the exact opposite is even more true, right?
Oh, yeah, and it's fucking, like, J.D. Vance killed the Pope. J.D. Vance, being a piece of shit, was the last politician that the Pope met with, and then the Pope went and died. Like, and then these Christians are like, oh, yeah, we love J.D. Vance, we love Donald Trump, They're sent by God. It's like, bro, if they kill your man in the fucking high castle, your man in the Vatican, it's probably a not good sign, right? Like, that's a bad sign. And, like, their religion tells them specifically, like, be weary of fucking hustlers that talk about Christ, right? And they fall for someone like Donald Trump. It's mind-boggling. And, like, people who vote for eugenicists have their own demise coming, and it's their fault.
Is Trump a eugenicist?
His parents were Nazis. He quotes Hitler a lot. He surrounded himself. Elon Musk is a eugenicist. RFK is a eugenicist. JD Vance is just spineless. So, like,
RFK
show me your friends, and I'll show you who you are. And, like, being a eugenicist is dramatically different than being, like, pro-medical science, right? Because, like, medical science doesn't involve, like, executing people to cleanse the gene pool. Where eugenicists do that. They're the ones that start gas chambers and, extermination camps.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, my angle lately has just been kind of playing mellow, kind of playing, just agnostic, neutral on most points. I try to be agreeable. We're doing the same thing kind of stuff. Hey, even when some guy asked me my position today, I let him whittle it down a little bit without answering right away because he just kept talking. And I finally just said, methodological naturalist, probably, just like you. And he didn't address the just like you part. Right? Because they all do. They all are methodological naturalists.
Yeah.
When you break.
Well, the lack of good argument on their side, right? Like, fucking my friend over here is like, this is why I voted for Donald Trump. It's like, bro, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence at, like, how despicable Donald Trump is. And because you got your feelings hurt by a bunch of leftists, you voted for him? Like, wow. A complete lack of understanding of history, a complete lack of understanding of people. And now he's just like, well, because you hurt my feelings, I'm going to vote for the Antichrist. That's telling, my friend. That's telling. And even now, instead of, like, just talking to me like a human being, he's a coward, fucking mouthing off in the chat.
I'm down to talk because my girlfriend's taking a nap. I'm doing some work on the computer.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a really great argument, my friend. I totally understand.
I mean, it's not an argument. It's the truth. I can take a break and leave my kitchen where I was working on the computer.
I see why you voted for Donald Trump. You've opened my eyes. That's amazing.
Well, I didn't really elaborate.
Oh, you didn't?
Actually, I did, because leftists hurt my feelings, threatened my life, and told me that my whole family... Look, let me reiterate that point verbally.
When did I say that they threatened your family?
I said that. You said I voted for Trump because leftists hurt my feelings. I said that is correct.
Yeah, that is
voted
correct.
For Trump because leftists hurt my feelings.
For a person who's destroying the country because of being...
I don't think that he is destroying the country. I think that the leftists were destroying
How's the economy? How's the stock market? How are those tariffs working out?
I feel like it's like a long-term thing. The economy is going to get better over a long period of time.
And if it doesn't, are you willing to be an adult and assess yourself?
Of course. But let me ask you this. Of course. But let me ask you this. You don't have to make fun of me. You don't have to mockingly...
I definitely have to make fun of you.
Oh, I definitely have to make fun of you.
Yes, I do. With my...
I have to make fun of you on Clubhouse.
Yes, I
such a
do.
good use of time.
I can also stop
roasting myself. It's a self-roasting app. And when you open your mouth, you roast yourself.
Oh,
It's a roasting app.
I'm not the one
Roasting yourself. Roasting away. Romeo is roasting himself. Look.
Because my feces were hurt by the lift.
Look, Mike, are you willing to acknowledge that contemporary American progressives have drifted far away from the original tenets of what leftism was supposed to be about?
Which leftists are you talking about? Like Bernie Sanders? I think he's pretty on point. I think if you're saying that Democrats are leftist, I will disagree with you. The Democratic Party is a right-wing party.
At the peak of my identifying as a leftist, when I was like 22, I really believed that everybody could get it. Everybody could figure it out if they were
And then you grew up and you realized that there needs to be a majority that controls everybody else, and so you aligned yourself with Trump, right?
No.
No?
That's not what I was going to say at all.
Oh, go on. Continue.
I
So you used to believe in equal rights. You used to believe that everyone had this, they should have the rights to the same equality. What changed?
I still believe that, but I think that most of my leftist friends stopped talking that way, and for the past, I would say 5 or 10 years, have been talking like, basically there are a bunch of people who we need to just exterminate and get out of the way.
Oh yeah, like who? Who do we need? Who does the left need to exterminate?
Well, like landlords. Kill your landlord.
Did we set up prisons in Venezuela to send them to? No.
No, we haven't started killing landlords. I mean, leftists haven't.
Have we ever killed landlords?
Yeah, the 1968 Cultural Revolution in China.
Okay, so not in the United States.
No, other places, but I mean...
Oh, I'm talking about leftists in the United States.
Why? Why would you...
Because we're talking about the United States.
Oh, I'm not. I'm talking about humanity and society, human society.
Oh, I
see. Yeah, I don't limit my understanding of history to one nation that's a few hundred years old. I take a broader understanding of history, look at thousands of years of human history, all nations that have rose and fell, over the course of centuries. So I don't only limit my political discourse to United States.
Oh, so you don't care about the United States? It's just not your problem.
No, I didn't say that. I mean, you guys are like, is this how you communicate? Is this how you communicate with everybody?
Is Donald Trump the president of the world?
John, is this how he communicates with everybody?
Are you just not going to answer my question?
What did you say?
God, you're not even listening.
Well, you're interrupting me and trolling me kind of in a douchey way.
Is Donald Trump the president of the world or the president of the United States?
He's the president of the United States.
Okay, so when I'm talking about the president of the United States, do you think I'm talking about all of modern 20th century history, or I'm talking about this moment in time right now and this country?
I think that you're doing a weird, intellectually dishonest way of communicating, which is normal.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking you questions, dude, and you're avoiding answering. And that's cute.
I think that when we're talking about the United States, I don't even understand your question. I said that I was afraid of what progressive leftist movements can lead to because of other stuff that I've seen throughout history.
In the context of the United States.
Yes, it hasn't happened in the United States yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it hasn't happened in the United States yet. Do you think that means it can ever happen?
Who's the threat in the United States? The far left, which doesn't exist, or the far right, which does exist in the United States?
In my experience, I have suffered more at the hands of far leftists than I have.
I want to see those receipts.
Okay, I made a podcast episode about it where I told the whole story for an hour and 20 minutes. I can send you the link, or I can put the link in the chat.
I mean,
I
you
made
can
a bunch
just
of
like
videos
summarize
about
it, right? You can say, hey,
yeah, I mean, in 2018, I got called out as a white supremacist for teaching people about wild edible plants. And
is that it? I doubt someone would call you a white supremacist because you were telling them about how to eat wild plants. That sounds fishy.
yeah, I mean, okay, I'm not surprised that that's your reaction, but you could choose to express some curiosity.
Oh, I am curious. Like I said, I want the
That's what it
receipts.
was. Yeah, I taught a
No,
drum making
you're
class.
telling me the setup. You're not showing me the receipts.
What do you mean by receipts?
Like, show me like a blog post where someone's like, "You're a Nazi because you're trying to teach me how to eat mushrooms."
They didn't write blogs about me. They just contacted my employers and told them that I was a
they
racist.
contacted your employers and you said, "This man is a Nazi because he's teaching people how to eat wild plants." Is that your thesis?
Yes, that's correct.
Then you should be able to show some kind of documentation about that, right?
What kind of documentation would you expect me to have? Like a screenshot of one of these emails?
Yeah, or the email
But they weren't
itself.
sent to me. They weren't sent to me.
Okay, well that's convenient. So you
don't believe
the dismissal? Do you have the dismissal letter from your work? Was there an investigation done?
Do you not believe me?
I am giving you the same that I would give to anybody else when they make a claim. You're making a claim. I say, okay, great. Show me something that backs that up.
Okay.
Is that unfair?
I don't know. I think that logically, yeah. I mean, if a woman says I was raped and doesn't have any evidence, you're supposed to believe women.
You're supposed to believe women at first and then investigate. Right? Like the police don't go, oh, she said that you raped her and we have
many
no
times
probable
they do,
cause,
actually.
no evidence.
I mean, many times they do. I think.
And then they countersue,
wasn't that the
right?
Jean Carroll case?
Don't they countersue?
Well, yeah, if they have a lot of money, but if they're a poor loser like me, then they don't
Jean
countersue.
Carroll, the woman that Donald Trump raped? Is that Jean Carroll?
Yes, she accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her and like.
And they went to court, right? And he was found. Finish the sentence. He was found what?
Yes, but I don't have the money that Donald Trump has, and I was not.
But he was found guilty, right? He was found liable.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So you can't say that it's like the Jean Carroll case because, in fact, in court he was found liable.
I'm not even trying to say that it's like the Jean Carroll case. I don't
brought
have
it
the
up.
receipts that you're looking for. I don't think, but you can choose. I don't need you, random stranger, to believe me. I just came in here.
No, I'm helping you tell your story better, right? For the next person that you think you can throw this at. There's a way to inform a story is accurate or not, and some of that are receipts, right? Like a letter that's saying, "Hey, you're being accused of raping somebody, and you're a school because you're a Nazi because you tried to teach people how to eat wild mushrooms." Like a school would document that, wouldn't they?
No, not necessarily. I don't think that they would necessarily.
So there's no documentation for this. None. It's just a claim.
No, I think you're missing my point. I mean, the point is that I'm telling you a story.
Yeah.
And you're asking for receipts. You're saying that you don't believe me if I don't show you a screenshot or whatever.
Yeah, because you sound like a duplicitous person, so of course I'm going to ask for
I sound like a
receipt.
duplicitous person?
Yes, you do.
Okay. You sound like a douchebag.
That's fine. You can think I'm a douchebag.
You can think I'm a duplicitous person.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think you're lying.
I'm going to keep voting Republican.
That's great. And it's just going to keep making my point.
No, more and more people are actually agreeing with me.
Are they?
Yeah. The average white man in their 20s is more conservative. Can you let me finish any sentence, or do you have to interrupt me every time I talk?
Well, because I think it's funny. So it's just funny.
No, it's because you're a douchebag.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well, you're a liar. So
No, I'm not lying about anything.
I'll admit to being
You are a douchebag, but I'm not a liar.
All right, so let's get back to God.
Yeah, I'm not lying about
Back to
anything.
God stuff, because this is just, you guys are talking over each other and stuff. I don't even know.
I'm
if
not
it's
talking over anybody.
Yeah, well,
I do have a question. It's not God related, but I think it'll get the conversation going here. My friend, you said something earlier about how you think that we just need more time with this tariff war that's going on right now, right? Why do you believe that when we have historical?
I'm going to tell you, I stepped outside, I had a cigarette, I tried to engage. The guy talked over me. I'm going to go back to work on my computer now, so I'm not going to engage.
Okay.
Isn't it funny?
Run away.
When I stopped interrupting him and you started talking, he asked to run.
Yeah, because there was a tariff war. There was a tariff war in the 1920s, right? Anybody can research this. It completely bombed, right? Like it left the economy worse off. And I'm just curious why anybody thinks that the tariff war that we're having now is going to be any different when all of the available evidence right now shows that we're on track to be parallel to the tariff war that occurred in the 1920s.
Well, the Republicans don't have the internet, Shawnita, so they can't look stuff up.
Is this guy back at work? Because he's on stage still.
No, I think he's cornered. He's a bit butthurt, and he knows that he has nothing. So he's just like, no, I'm going to go.
All right, I put him in the audience.
Yo. So,
boy.
I mean, Romero, don't you think, though, that you're projecting? I mean, even if you think you're accurate in your assessment, can you still agree that it's at least a projection? It's a legitimate question. Because I think people project on this app a lot.
No, I don't think it's a projection. I think at best it's a prejudice based on previous information and data. You could say it's unfair, and I might partially agree that it's unfair. But again, I go back to the data. So less of a projection, more of a disappointment. What do you think about that, comedian? Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to data too, but I think communication on this app is too short to like actually have any kind of meaningful information exchange, because if it's just transcripts that we're trading, it ends up becoming a little political with green beans as opposed to just like true, authentic, transparent communication. That's my opinion.
Oh, I think that's a fair opinion, that this is less of a platform for authentic, genuine communication and more of like a battle world. If that's your assessment, I completely agree. I think that we don't have the space to have genuine conversations, but I think pretty early on you can tell if your opponent is just kind of lying to you or not.
You can say it's unfair, and I might partially agree that it's unfair. But again,
my friend over to like half an hour to like lie 20 minutes and give like maybe 10 minutes of like an honest truth opinion, like that's kind of a waste of time, right? So the moment that I pick up on the duplicity on the lying, like I'm gonna push. I had the misfortune of being raised by like pretty aggressive lawyers and like having to constantly defend my positions to a certain high standard. And maybe it's unfair of me to require that of other people. Maybe they didn't have the fortune or misfortune to be raised by like very aggressive business people and lawyers to have to back up what I consider to be true.
What? I never knew you were raised by two lawyers, but I would never like make that assumption, nor how could I ever, theoretically
I'm
even
telling
believe
you
that.
Because we're having a conversation.
But I find that interesting, knowing you, not that well, but having had many interactions with you on this app. Do you really think that is your defining personality characteristic, is that you were raised by two lawyers? It's a good question.
I think it's an aspect of it. I think a lot of my personality is defined by being autistic and having to maneuver a world that doesn't make sense to me. And the pillars that I do consider my foundational pillars are different than most other people's. Like, to me, my foundational pillars are not Christianity. It's Star Trek, right? Like, my morals and ethics come from that franchise. And as a storyteller, I believe that humans are a story-based species. So we are going to engage with stories to figure out where we fit in the world and who we are. And I think some stories are better than others. I think some stories teach better lessons than others.
Wait, so you're not a moral realist?
Moral realist? No, I'm probably more of a... I don't necessarily know what I would define myself as, but I don't think I'm a moral realist.
Are you a cognitivist when it comes to the good?
I tend to be a moral relativist. I think morality is relative. I think that there are evolutionary patterns that collectively lead us to have similar morality than most others. Right? I think morals come from human preferences and empathy. Human preferences plus empathy equals morals.
Yeah, that's going to be a non-cognitivist view. I mean,
Okay.
if you're saying that preference, if you're saying something like what the good is going to be identical to is your desire or preference in some way, then that would be some sort of anti-realist view, because you would say that those two propositions are identical, that X is good and that you desire X. Those two propositions are identical.
No, I think it's a little bit more nuanced and complicated than that. I think humans give each other morality. I think that if you're in an empty room, there's no need for morals or ethics. You have two people in a room, now you have social interactions, and those preferences and empathy come into play.
Yeah, I just think the problem with this view is that it entails a non-cognitivist sort of theory of the good. I'm a cognitivist about the good. I think it can be false that it's good to rape people, no matter what anyone thinks about it. It can be false that you should rape people. And so if you're using the word, feeling or desire or preference here to express a qualitative state, like qualitative states like the way things are in your own subjective world, they're not true or false. So on your view, these sort of oughts aren't going to be the types of things that can be true or false.
Well, there's virtuous fiction. There's virtuous fiction. There's virtuous lies, right? Like justice. Justice is a concept that only exists in human minds, right? So
I disagree.
And I'm still talking. So,
well,
again,
I know you are, but you're not making a point.
Preferences plus empathy, right? A person may have a preference of raping, but if they have empathy, they'll empathize with the person who probably does not want to be raped, right? If they're consenting to rape, it's not rape.
Mm-hmm.
If they're saying no,
how angry can we make
that's
Romero?
rape. So, do you see how that person would lack the empathy?
Yeah, so you notice how none of this is an answer to the point that I gave. So I'm saying that on your view, you're saying that the good is going to be reduced down to being in or out of accordance with some preference, and then you're adding this extra element of another emotional disposition, which is empathy. Yeah. But the point is that none of these things, on your view, can be true or false. So you can't make the claim that it is false that it is good to rape people. Hold on. It makes no sense to say that. It makes no sense to say that an emotional state is true or false.
Truth is a property of proposition, dude.
That's not true.
It wasn't the proposition. No, it is. It is true.
Well, it's not true. Give an argument.
Yes, it is. Explain to me what it means for something to be true if you're not talking about a proposition. I don't understand what it means to be true if you're not talking about a proposition.
Well, you might not understand what it means, but it doesn't mean that your view is correct just because you lack the semantic context.
No, my view is correct because that's what I mean by the words.
Give an argument for your view. Give an argument for your view.
Hold on, I have, because I'm explaining to you. That's what I mean by the words that I'm using. I'm explaining that.
Yeah, but you're wrong. You're wrong.
So I can't be wrong. How can I be wrong about what? How can I be wrong about what I mean by the words I'm using?
Well, no, because you're saying that this theory. No, you're wrong about this theory of truth being true. So that's the problem that we need. No,
I'm explaining to you. That's how I use the word truth.
Yeah,
I don't understand what it means.
You're wrong.
I'm telling you. I don't understand what it means for something to be true if you're not talking about a proposition.
Yeah, you might not understand what it means, but that doesn't mean that you're correct. You understand?
So how can you have a truth that's not proposition based?
I never said that. I just said it's not the case.
How can you have a truth that's not true?
Give an argument. I don't know what it means for not proposition based. Propositions are very.
He
Well, no, you're not. So you're attacking a straw man. So again, I said that propositions are primary bearers of truth.
Repeat what you said to valid over here, because it seems to be
Well, now you're just terribly confused, and you're attacking a straw man because you look bad in the conversation.
Am I attacking a straw man, or am I asking?
I disagreed with the claim that truth is a property of propositions, and then you said, well, how can you have truth? Then you said, how can you have truth outside of propositions?
Yeah,
well, that's not my
claim
claim
that you're making. You're saying
yeah,
that
propositions are bearers of truth, but it doesn't follow from that truth is going to be a property of the proposition itself. On my view, truth is a property that exists in the world, and the proposition is simply referring. Like, what do you mean? You're asking me to give an example of something that
a cup of truth?
Like what?
Can you give me a cup of truth, please?
Wait, hold on. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that
you said it exists. You said it exists.
It exists.
Okay, so what I understand exists to mean is a spatiotemporal property. So
well, you're wrong on what existence is. I mean, there's the abstract.
How can I be wrong?
Because there's the abstract.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you're just saying I take existence
independent of what I mean by the word.
Yeah, you're just saying I take existence to be. You're saying I take existence to be spatiotemporal. So if you say anything else exists that's not spatiotemporal, then I don't know what you mean. Well, guess what, Shanito? I take existence to be abstract, and if you say existence is spatiotemporal, I just don't know. I just don't know what you mean, Shanito, when you say existence is spatiotemporal. So you lose. You lose the dialectical exchange. I don't know what you mean.
So you only care about the
your
points.
view lacks semantic content, Shanito.
You
just
only
got your
care
back
about the points, right? You're not actually interested.
No, I'm just showing
What the hell is he even talking about?
I'm mimicking your view. I'm mirroring your view.
No, you're not mimicking my view.
No, I don't say anything remotely close to what you're saying right now.
You just said, this is what you said verbatim. I take existence to be spatiotemporal. If you talk about anything else that exists that's not spatiotemporal, then I don't know what you mean by existence.
And I've asked
and I'm saying, well,
exactly.
Shanito, I'm saying, well, I take.
I've asked you questions that you refuse to answer because you're a coward.
All you had to do instead of all that rhetoric was just tell me what you mean by the words you're using. But instead of doing that, you're trying to do this semantic ad hom battle, right? That's all you're doing.
Was that projection, comedian? Was that interaction projection?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is projection because people are projecting their opinions, and that's what I mean by projection. But a lot of it is a psychological slip sometimes, especially when you hear people make homophobic, slanderous type of comments. I think that's actually skeletons in the closet a lot of times.
Oh, that's completely fair. But when I ask him a direct question and he refuses to answer, and then goes into that monologue, how is that? How am I projecting onto him what he's not willing to answer?
I don't know. To me, it sounds so technical, but not really political in the sense. Like you guys are really doing linguistic argumentation, which I think is kind of interesting. But I would like to ask a question about metaphysics and the nature of God or energy, meaning that if you understand, particle physics and math and science enough to know that even a lightning bolt is energy and electricity, aren't we also just a very complicated form of energy and electricity? And isn't the whole universe a very complicated form of energy and electricity and atoms? I mean,
partially, yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. That if we go all the way back to the Big Bang, and you have this massive expansion of just pure energy, and then all that, everything we see from that point on is just coagulated energy in a solid form, then sure, yeah, everything is energy. We are, you and me and everyone we know, and the house we live in, and the planet we live in is
well, that's the key
energy.
word, house. I mean, we are in Clown House. The metaphor esoterically is your brain is the house, and essentially, how do we utilize the brain in a way which is hyper productive to harness more energy for productivity
but you get what
and
I'm
creativity?
saying, right? That we're just frozen energy.
I agree. So my point is, once you get past this whole atheist, theistic, childish, ridiculous dopamine argument game, because you said earlier it is a little bit like Battle World, and if you've ever played Battle,
Totally.
yeah. So once you get past that, don't you just get back to metaphysics and essentially psychology and productivity and kindness and compassion and normal, intelligent conversation, academic conversation? That's why I said it should go back to a book club.
Oh, I agree. I'm 100% with you on that. I just think that the format itself does not allow for that, right? Because I ask a lot of honest questions and I never get the answer to. So like, of course I'm gonna get a little prickly if all I get back is like bullshit, right?
But then what does that make you though? A masochist or a comedian?
It makes me somebody that suffers from focuses, and my problem with, or my whole thing about atheism is just one long 30-year hyper focus. Like, I fully admit that I'm on here not because I'm mentally well. I admit that this is a symptom of mental illness, but everybody else should also consider that and think about that. But a lot of people don't. So like, I'm willing to say what I think is real about me. That my whole thing about atheism is just a pure 100% hyperfixation, and I don't understand the theist mind, and so it kind of breaks me. So I have to understand, right?
But isn't
I get you, Romero. Yeah. That's kind of why I'm still intrigued on finding out why people believe.
But see, that's a you problem, though. That's why I say the book club is superior to your position, because you're not debating books. You're debating a lot of people who are mentally ill and want to go on and on about the deity, and they're not all that there. They're not there, or they're not intelligent. So why can't you just go back to? I'm just saying that,
because
like,
I'm mentally ill and I have a hyperfixation.
I know, but why not go back to books then as your guiding focus?
Because books don't talk back. I don't get the
But
serotonin.
what I'm saying is
Just
you can avoid the conflict and the debate here just by only communicating through books, by like basically saying, okay, I'm done with these conversations because I know it's ridiculous, but I will do these conversations if they actually comply by the book. Meaning I agree
with you, and I'm saying that the reason why I do this is because I'm mentally ill. I'm admitting it.
Is that projection?
Can you admit it?
What I'm saying is that projection. You would admit that when somebody comes on this app and says I am mentally ill, that's 100% a projection, right?
Yes, just only you.
Admit my own fault. How is that bad?
Only you. We are not mentally ill with you, like you are mentally ill.
I mean, if you're in the same room full of mentally ill people, that should be a warning sign, don't you think?
No, we are not all mentally ill. One of us is. That one is you.
Okay, Jan.
See, I mean, to come on a social audio app and say I am mentally ill is so pointless. Again, I go back to books, meaning I am about to create more YouTube videos as I take a break from live streaming this conversation onto YouTube. But I would just say that.
Are you engaging with books, or are you engaging with people?
Now I'm engaging with people.
On your
the books. The
channel.
Books. You know why?
Engaging with people, right?
No, the books. I'll tell you why. Because it's pre-formatted hypnosis, and I'm reading it in a very, hypnotic way. Because
the fact that you're live streaming this tells me that you're here for views. You're here for other people to concentrate their energy on you.
Yes, exactly.
So don't act like you're any different than me.
I'm not any different from you. I'm just a man like you. You're a man, right?
I'm a human, yeah.
Yeah, you're a human. I'm a human. I mean, I don't think there's technically any real major difference between us. But I just think that we are not just identical. The different. No, hold on. The differential is how many gigabytes. How many gigabytes of information have we put in our head, and how much have we, essentially uploaded, downloaded, exported, deported, etc. I mean, we're different in the sense of our conditioning, our experiences, our knowledge. And what I'd say is, books is the big differential.
Terabytes have uploaded?
No, what I'm telling you is that our brains are essentially identical, but each brain has had a unique experience.
I mean, at this point, I'm not convinced you have gigabytes of data in your brain. I'm skeptical it's even in the megabyte.
That's impossible. Just think about your memories. Do you know how many memories are in our brains?
I'm a video producer. I go through 3 or 4 terabyte drives every 4 months.
Your brain is definitely a memory recording device. I mean, I can think back to the.
I'm not disregarding that. That's not even remotely close to what I said. I didn't negate that. I was. It was
that was your.
Attack, but it was a witty personal attack. Come on, dude.
No, I got it, but I mean, I was still just making the point that it's unbelievable when you think how you can actually remember certain things to the like the most pixelated detail. It's unbelievable.
But it's not to the most pixelated detail, right?
In your mind's
human
eye.
memory is actually extremely faulty. That's why we have science in courtrooms instead of just people saying, "Why saw this person steal that?"
No, I'm just marveling about the power of the human brain. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, it is a marvel, but it's not a perfect recorder.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's still fucking remarkable.
Yes, it is remarkable in its imperfection.
See, that's why you're kind of like a half cup, half filled, kind of person. I mean, what I'm trying to, if you read my PTR, what I'm trying to say is there is a metaphysic to linguistics. And the meta, really, again, it's all back to projection. Meaning, if you always project cup half filled, that's your personality. If you're always projecting cup is overflowing, that's your percent. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think the balance is what is the best approach to communication, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I agree with you. I think the human brain is a marvel, and I also acknowledge its faults, its imperfections. So to me, it is imperfectly perfect in a sort of poetic way, right? The fact that we can have memory, we can have emotions, we can have instinct, right? All wrapped into a 2-pound wet computer inside a skull, like that is amazing, right? But I'm also acknowledging the fact that it's not a perfect video camera, right? That it's not that memory is faulty, that memory is somewhat hallucinatory. That's all I'm doing. And if you think that's being a negative Nancy, that's okay for you to think that way about me.
Yeah, moral relativism, that's just a non-cognitivist view.
I mean, I do tend to be a moral relativist because I think that there are similarities between humans, and that's why there are sort of similar morals and ethics across the species, right? We're working with the same hardware, and the differences are small enough but have impact.
What's the difference between that subjective, like someone who holds morals as subjective, than a moral relativist? It sounds like it's very similar.
Do you know what the difference is between an object and a subject?
I was trying to get
Yeah, so JCC, there's no difference. Moral relativism is subjective morals. It's a subjective moral stance.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Can anyone tell me what the difference is between an object and a subject? Anyone? Hello? I see you will not dignify me with an answer.
Oh shit! Oh shit! He left. Damn it! I did not consent to be a moderator.
So, Shawnito, do you think you're maybe hyperbolic sometimes for comedic purposes, or are you just, generally polarizing?
I can be hyperbolic. I have been hyperbolic on this app a number of times. Generally, I match people where they're at in the conversation, and so if you come in hot to trot, I'm gonna knock you down a few pegs. But if you come in and you're being genuine and you're just asking questions sincerely, or you're just trying to engage in like a fun conversation, I'm also gonna match that energy. So it's all dependent upon the person coming into the conversation.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, I'm pretty sure J.D. Vance killed the Pope.
I mean, do you think you always have bad takes, though, Romero? Or do they always good takes?
I think it's a mixed bag, like most people. I think some takes are good. I think some takes are bad. I think sometimes I'm funny. I think sometimes my jokes fucking bomb. Do you think you're always right?
No, but I think I'm always trying to be funny.
Neither do I.
I'm always trying to go. I think just being funny is like the best approach, because if you look at how you can get away in comedy with being subversive, I mean, I'm more of law and order versus, liberal culture and fiscal irresponsibility. I think at $40 trillion to say that we don't have a major, because if we really play by the rules, I mean, we, the people, are effed, in my opinion. So, I mean, where is your analysis of the financial crisis, in my opinion, in this country? Or is it all just or is it just
a weird pivot, but okay.
Or is it just a communication crisis? Because I think in many ways, it's like we can lie to ourselves through the communication and say it's a crisis, but it's really not, because fiat is like a whole, like, super social communication structure. It's about debt, lawyers, people. I mean, I'm in debt. I have lawyers breathing down my neck that take from me. I mean, I'm just saying that, to me, the Federal
Somebody
Reserve.
owns that debt, right?
Yeah, the lawyer.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying.
They're making money off of that, right?
Yeah, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
And I what I'm saying is.
What's your question?
My question is,
what do I think about the financial crisis?
Is it a crisis, or is it just an imaginary crisis?
It's violence from the top 1%ers to the rest of us. It is an act of violence.
What is an act of violence? Real violence or financial violence?
Well, a combination of both if you live in the United States, right? Financial violence leads to real violence. Like, do you think someone getting kicked out of their home because they couldn't pay rent is not violent?
No, I mean, I've been kicked out of my home because I couldn't pay the rent.
And that's a form of violence, don't you think?
No, I mean, this is the... No, in Chicago, every single year, they have an annual sale of all the houses that get foreclosed on because of property tax debt. And so it's like a feasting frenzy where hundreds of houses get, sold. But and then evictions take place and sheriffs kick people out. I understand how the whole system works. What I'm just saying to you is...
But that's not violence, you say?
It's force of violence or threat of violence. But what I'm asking you, okay, Dr. Romero, is when you look... I mean, the thing is...
Asking me?
Yeah.
Again, like, you use these little racist tropes all the time, and it's cute, but, like... It sometimes needs to be called out, right? Like, you do say racist shit from time to time.
No, I don't. I was just asking a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on this app so much. I thought it was asking. I'm sorry. I thought I was. Anyways, Romero, I'm being just a little funny. I know you don't think it's funny. You think it's annoying, but I mean, what is your actual financial analysis of the current state of affairs in the United States?
That there's a whole shit ton of violence being perpetrated by the top 1%ers to the rest of us. Late-stage capitalism is inherently violent. So what we're seeing out is the middle class being... But
isn't it just your opinion it's late-stage capitalism?
Getting more of the pie. I think that's fair to say.
Okay, but the point is, with apartment evictions and home evictions or forced foreclosures, etc., like, we might agree that it's a form of violence or potential violence, or it is violence. But still, that doesn't address the current fiscal crisis at the federal national deficit, which is at $40 trillion, growing by $5 trillion a year.
Okay, so, I mean, what? Should we cut the military altogether? That would save us a lot of money.
No, I agree. I think they should cut the military by 80%.
Okay, cool. Then we agree on that. I think that so much of what we spend money on is probably not in consideration of the civilians, the citizenry.
Okay, but there's a flip side to cutting the military by 80%. Are you ready for it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But so what I'm saying is there are places to cut.
Let me tell you what the flip side is. If we cut the military by 80%, would you agree to arming 80% of the population who can bear a firearm and teach them how to use it, as well as to give them a pocket constitution and say, here's your new philosophy, soldier?
Don't they have that already? Like, aren't we the most armed populace in the world?
No, I'm saying the government actually buys weapons and distributes them to the population.
How much would that cost?
$10 billion.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that would be the budget allocation. $10 billion to buy 38 snub-nosed revolvers and give tons of ammunition to the population.
What's the upside of that?
cutting the NDAA by $800 billion a year. Because the whole thing is, we're supposed to, as a military, which is just basic 101, is protecting your perimeter. We don't need a multi-million force.
Our perimeter. We protect our interests in Europe, Asia, Africa, Middle East.
Okay, great. But what I'm just telling you is that's my hypothesis for flipping on the NDAA. We arm the population and we get rid of the military.
I think it's an interesting hypothesis. I'm open to it. I think that if you do that, you have to run a whole lot of checks on the people that you're arming to make sure that they're not fucking lunatics. But okay, that's a proposition. Let's explore it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can go to the DMV and get a driver's license,
put a committee together.
If you can go to the DMV and get a driver's license, I think you should be able to go to the DMV and pick up your .38 snub-nosed revolver and a box of ammunition and a holster and say, "Here's your driver's license and here's your pistol."
The difference between a car and a snub-nosed?
No, I think if you're driving a car and you're a U.S. citizen and you're capable of bearing a firearm, you should be technically legally required to bear a firearm with you at all times. And this is the sacrifice for getting rid of the world's biggest military budget on the planet, which is $1 trillion a year. Are you willing to make that sacrifice? Because change will have to come. It'll have to come within from the citizenry.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm also willing to put a committee together to see what other options we have. Right? You're saying this is the only option. I'm saying I think there's probably more than that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm open to it.
Well, I'm so glad you're open to things. It's so awesome. Are you open to something called the 3-letter word in the title of the room, God? Are you open to the God?
The what?
The God, the God word.
Am I open to it? Yeah, with sufficient evidence, sure.
But the word itself.
I'm not open to it with blind belief.
Okay, but what is
I'm not open with just going with being part of the sheep.
Okay, first give us your definition of the word God then, God. Give us your definition.
What's your definition of God?
It's that it's a word called God.
Oh, well, if that's all we're agreeing on, then yeah. God is a word.
Okay, but I think God is a compression word and a generic word. It's an evergreen catch-all word. I think the Yiddish expression, Allah is God, all is God, is technically the real definition of God, which basically is the macroverse, the microverse, the atomic subparticle universe, as well as the entire infinite universe and eternal universe.
I don't think that's what the Abrahamics thought of when they first came up.
No,
with
this
these
is
ideas.
my definition. You asked me, Dr. Romero. You asked me my definition. I didn't tell you an Abrahamic definition.
And guess what? I'm going to say, yeah, you're right.
Oh my God, you're agreeing with me. We've got some great agreements going here, Dr. Romero.
What? I didn't hear you.
I said we are in agreement. And so what I'm trying to tell you, Dr. Romero, here is that since you are this subatomic, particle universe, these atoms, these, this light essentially, it's energy, particles, protons, neutrons, electrons. That's who and what you are. You are that infinite cosmic universe. So, that's what the word God means. It means you, Y-O-U. How do you feel about that, Dr. Romero?
I think that's a perfectly good take for you to have.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, can you give me your definition of God now? Thank you very little. We'll call you later. Thanks, Dr. Romero. I'm complete.
Yeah, thank you very little as well. I think God is a fictional character in a series of books that are very old.
So it's a comic book, like the Infinite, the Avengers, basically.
Yeah. I don't think the Bible is any different than any other book ever written.
Great. Okay.
I think most books, even comic books, are moral tales that are trying to teach some kind of moral lesson.
Okay, so it's a comic book about morality.
If you want to reduce it to that, yeah, but any book is a book about morality.
Even a book about bees, ants, that's a book about morality?
If it's written by humans, it's going to have some kind of dimension about that, unless it's purely just descriptive.
So what do you think about a bee's hive with the queen's bee? Is there morality to that in observing how bees act? Where's the morality in the ethics?
There's a bee morality, yeah.
Bees have morality?
I think most life forms have some kind of thing that we could abstract as morality. Yeah.
So what would you think B's morality is, since you can extract it, and that's your all or nothing opinion? What do you think is the morality and ethics of B's?
Is it my all or nothing opinion?
Yeah, you just said.
You keep putting words in my mouth.
You just made an all or nothing statement.
You as well. But again, this is so that you can have views on your podcast, right? On your channel. So you're highly dependent on me.
Romero, sorry.
You're highly dependent on me to make content for you.
Guys, I want to ask your opinions as Christians on what you think of Zoroastrianism, the religion of the three wise men.
I think it's beautiful.
Yes, O Magus, we know you are the great Magus. Why do you always ask the same question about the Magus, Dr. Magus?
How come you don't answer him?
I believe that the Magus and the Magi are forgotten wisdoms of an old world, long hidden under the heavy dusts of politics.
Does the Bible even say there were 3 magi or only 3 gifts?
Yeah, Magi, where the word magic comes from, the practice of the Magi. Zoroastrian, Iranian, Persian priests.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine religion, like any other religion.
Do you think there will be a rise in Iran soon, that tomorrow after Iran's freedom from this regime?
Yes, the U.S. is preparing to bomb Iran now. The U.S. is stockpiling munitions in advance of a major operation to attack Iran and Tehran and Esfahan to go after the nuclear facilities. Bombs away! Bomb, bomb, bomb! Bomb, bomb, Iran!
Yeah, but isn't Trump reaching an agreement with these savages?
What if I'm being accurate in my assessment?
I don't think you are.
I don't know, you could be.
Talking about the Magi,
Listen, Romero, I want for Zoroastrianism, I want for Iran, Persia, to have a renaissance. The Rastakhis, as we should say in Persian. Rastakhis.
I think that'd be great.
And basically, and I want every single mosque to become a Zoroastrian temple, a fire temple.
Highly unlikely, but it would probably be good. Yeah.
Oh, mate, it would not only be amazing, it would also wind up every single.
To win when an archer is shooting for nothing. His own unfathomable secret, his nature sings. The ambitious run day and night. Please don't scroll. Please don't. Please don't scroll. It is one of the profoundest doctrines of sacred science, the doctrine that the universe owes its existence to the Creator's perpetual self-recognition. Nature is thus the result of spirit's meditation upon the I forgot that I was live stream sitting here talking to myself about 2 little faggots. Romero and Honey Badger united. Alright, I'm going to finish reading this book. If you're from Clubhouse, I hope you enjoy this poetry reading. This is how you can take a break from Clubhouse, get back into books, and stop with all of the emotional dialectic combat battle in Clown House with highly sensitive people. But I think it's best when you're just like openly roasting people and you get straight to the point that you're like there to make fun of them. But it's amazing how much I've made fun of people, but then they like, if you're logical and polite, you get logic and politeness back to a certain extent, but it's not really like pleasant, communication. It's still very combative. I hope you enjoy this poetry. This is Shuangzi. This is the diamond of China. The emerald jade of Beijing. The best that China has to offer. The Tao. The infinity stone of infinity stones. The wisdom of the gods. The Tao. The wisdom of the way of relaxation, of neurolinguistic programming, of information. This is called reading books. Many people have forgotten how to do this. I'm about to show you how I bit books into 20 different bits by putting it all into 1-minute clips on YouTube. I hope you enjoy. When the shoe fits, Chu-yi, the draftsman, could draw more perfect circles freehand than with a compass. His fingers brought forth spontaneous forms from nowhere. His mind was, meanwhile, free and without concern with what he was doing. No application was needed. His mind was perfectly simple and knew no obstacle. So when the shoe fits, the foot is forgotten. When the belt fits, the belly is forgotten. When the heart is right, for and against are forgotten. No drives, no compulsions, no needs, no attractions. Then your affairs are under control. You are a free man. Easy is right, begin right, and you are easy. Continue easy, and you are right. The right way to go easy is to forget the right way, and forget that the going is easy. Easy is right, begin right, and you are easy. Continue easy, and you are right. The right way to go easy is to forget the right way, and forget that the going is easy. When the shoe fits. The empty boat, he who rules men lives in confusion. He who is ruled by men lives in sorrow. Yao therefore desired neither to influence others nor to be influenced by them. The way to get clear of confusion and free of sorrow is to live with Tao in the land of the great void. If a man is crossing a river and an empty boat collides with his own skiff, even though he be a bad-tempered man, he will not become very angry. But if he sees a man in the boat, he will shout at him to steer clear. If the shout is not heard, he will shout again and yet again and begin cursing, and all because there is somebody in the boat. Yet if the boat were empty, he would not be shouting and not angry. If you can empty your own boat, crossing the river of the world, no one will oppose you, no one will seek to harm you. The straight tree is the first to be cut down, the spring of clear water is the first to be drained dry. If you wish to improve your wisdom and shame the ignorant, to cultivate your character and outshine others, a light will shine around you as if you had swallowed the sun and the moon. You will not avoid calamity. A wise man has said, he who is content with himself has done a worthless work. Achievement is the beginning of failure. Fame is the beginning of disgrace. Who can free himself from achievement and from fame descend and be lost amid the masses of men? He will flow like Tao unseen. He will go about like life itself, with no shame and no home. Simple as he, without distinction to all appearances. He is a fool. His steps leave no trace. He has no power. He achieves nothing. He has no reputation. Since he judges no one judges him. Such is the perfect man. His boat is empty. He who is content with himself has done a worthless work. Achievement is the beginning of failure. Fame is the beginning of disgrace. who can free himself from achievement and from fame, descend and be lost amid the masses of men. He will flow like Tao, unseen. He will go about like life itself, with no name and no home. A wise man has said, he who is content. The flight of Lin Hui. Lin Hui of Kia took to flight, pursued by enemies. He threw away the precious jade, symbol of his rank, and took his infant child on his back. Why did he take the child and leave the jade, which was worth a small fortune, whereas the child, if sold, would only bring him a paltry sum? Lin Hui said, "My bond with the jade symbol and with my office was the bond of self-interest. My bond with the child was the bond of Tao." Where self-interest is the bond, the friendship is dissolved. When calamity comes, where Tao is the bond, friendship is made perfect by calamity. The friendship of wise men is tasteless as water, the friendship of fools is as sweet as wine. But the tastelessness of the wise brings true affection, and the savor of fools' company ends in hatred. The flight of Lin Hui. Flight of Lin. When knowledge went north, knowledge wandered north, looking for Tao, over the dark sea, and up the invisible mountain. There on the mountain he met Non-Doing, the speechless one. He inquired, "Please inform me, sir, by what system of thought and what technique of meditation I can apprehend Tao? By what renunciation or what solitary retirement may I rest in Tao? Where must I start? What road must I follow to reach Tao?" Such were his 3 questions. Non-Doing, the speechless one, made no reply. Not only that, he did not even know how to reply. Knowledge swung south to the bright sea and climbed the luminous mountain called Doubts, and here he met Act on Impulse, the inspired prophet, and asked the same questions. "Ah," cried the inspired one, "I have the answers and I will reveal them." But just as he was about to tell everything, he forgot all he had in mind. Knowledge got no reply. So Knowledge went at last to the palace of Emperor T. Knowledge wandered north, looking for knowledge. So Knowledge went at last to the palace of Emperor T and asked his questions of T. T replied, "To exercise no thought and follow no way of meditation is the first step toward understanding Tao. To dwell nowhere and rest in nothing is the first step toward resting in Tao. To start from nowhere and follow no road is the first step toward attaining Tao." Knowledge replied, "You know this, and now I know it. But the other 2, they did not know it. What about that? Who is right?" T replied, "Only Non-Doing. The speechless one was perfectly right. He did not know. Act on Impulse, the inspired prophet, only seemed right because he had forgotten. And as for us, we come nowhere near being right, since we have the answers. For he who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know." So Knowledge went at last to the palace of Emperor T and asked his questions of T. T. T replied, "Only Non-Doing. The speechless one was perfectly right. He did not know. Act on Impulse, the inspired prophet, only seemed right because he had forgotten. As for us, we come nowhere near being right, since we have the answers. For he who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. And the wise man gives instruction without the use of speech." This story got back to Act on Impulse, who agreed with T's way of putting it. It is not reported that non-doing ever heard of the matter or made any comment. This story got back to act on impulse, who agreed with T's way of putting it. It is not reported that non-doing ever heard of the matter or made any comment. For he who knows does not speak, he who speaks does not know, and the wise man gives instruction without the use of speech. The speechless one was perfectly right. The importance of being toothless. Nye Chue, who had no teeth, came to Pierre and asked for a lesson on Tao. Maybe he could bite on that. So Pierre began, first gain control of the body and all its organs, then control the mind, attain one-pointedness, then the harmony of heaven will come down and dwell in you. You will be radiant with life, you will rest in Tao. You will have the simple look of a newborn calf. Oh, lucky you! You will not even know the cause of your state. But long before Pierre had reached this point in his sermon, the toothless one had fallen asleep. His mind just could not bite on the meat of doctrine, but Pierre was satisfied. He wandered away singing, his body is dry like an old leg bone, his mind is dead. As dead ashes, as knowledge is solid, as wisdom true, in deep dark night he wanders free, without aim and without design. Who can compare with this toothless man? Yeah, true. That's the way of Shuangzi.
The universe. Would that be something you could at least find coherent if you just said it was purely natural, if you just understood physics, knows how to manipulate physics, and understands new physics that we don't understand yet? Would that be something you'd be like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to call that a god, I understand what you mean?
Yeah, so you're making the common mistake that most people do when I first, I don't know if you've been in the room when I talk about my agnosticism. So I'm not making the claim that I can't construct a concept in my mind based on the words that you're providing. What I'm saying is that when I try to contrast the concept that I've constructed to reality, and I can't find like any referent in reality that I can connect it to. And so if I can't do that, then I can't say that the concept that I've constructed in my mind is identical to the one that was presented to me. Because concepts don't live in a vacuum, right? They're unique to every individual. The way that you conceptualize like an apple in your brain may be different than the way that I conceptualize an apple in my brain. I don't have access to your mind or your brain. All I have is like this referential database. You point at an object, you utter a sound, and then that's the referent that I have for the sound that you've conveyed to me. But I don't know how that apple, you're experiencing that in your mind.
Right. But like from like a general purpose, like, right, let's say there was an apple on the table, and somebody we both walked in at different times, and somebody said, there's an object on the table, what does that appear to be to you? You would say it was an apple, right? And I would say it was an apple. So we could, in some sense, agree that we do understand what each other means in a general sense, because we could both be asked a question separate from each other, and it's highly likely that we would both say it's an apple.
Well, yeah, because that's the referent for the object in reality that I'm providing that sound to. Right, and around other people that also use that same word to refer to that same object.
Let's show you.
Oh, you're breaking up.
If you can hear me, go ahead.
But you were breaking up. I didn't hear you. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that I think what I'm understanding you to say is like, because there's an actual object on the table that we can point to and both understand, that doesn't map on to what you're saying, because we both can't individually point at a god and say that that's a god. Is it something you're doing that?
Yeah. So the only reference that I have for the word God is a label provided to characters in novels, literature, stories that are presented to me in audio form. That's the only reference that I have for the word God. I have no other reference for that. So when people
Well, you've got
make statements
translations.
like God exists or God is part of reality, I don't know what they're actually referring to. Like, are
You
they
have
taking
translations
the
in other words
that
and
they've
sounds.
read or comedian stop that they've read or heard or whatever, and then they're constructing a concept in their mind and then projecting it into reality? Because I don't think that that's a meaningful way of understanding reality if that's what they're doing. But if that's not what they're doing, then I don't know what they mean, because that's what I would have.
There they go, forever and ever.